Hello and welcome to the Outdoor Gibbon Podcast, episode 29, Hunting in Sweden with Beatrice, also known as the Hunting Psychologist on Instagram. So I thought it was about time that we actually got a chance to look how the Scandinavians do their hunting, which is different to the way that we hunt in the UK. So I had a good chat with Beatrice and hopefully you'll enjoy that. But anyway, before we go into that podcast, let's just have a quick look at what's going on. The roebucks are coming on beautifully up here. Lots of nice potential deer. They're all in velvet at the moment, but I feel that this roebuck season could be a good one. Definitely lots of my neighbours are posting very good pictures on their social media with some absolute fantastic trail cam footage. It's very difficult to tell, obviously, whether that buck will be perfect, especially when it's in velvet, because in velvet they look massive. But as soon as that all comes off, things all change. But hopefully it'll be a good season. It just depends whether the weather plays ball, and we'll see how it gets on. I know we had a fantastic stag season this year, and already there's a lot of stags out there with, well, they'll all be shedding their antlers at the moment and then regrowing. But from what we saw at the end of the season, there should be some potentially fantastic beasts on the hill this year. Some other things we could look at is the price of game. We are seeing prices of pheasant poults dropping quite considerably. I think I've seen prices down at £5.50. Now, if you're buying a poult, that's obviously does make a huge difference. It does mean that you can probably buy a few more for your shoot. Whether or not these big shoots will offer that discount to the guns, who knows? The prices rose. But as with all things, once the price goes up, sometimes that price never comes back down. I believe the price of wheat, barley, even gas has come down. So realistically, hopefully the savings will get passed on to the shooters. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of shoots out there that are making some good money this year out of you guys that are going out to shoot pheasants. Now, with a very close time frame before I'm actually going to be at the stalking show, I decided we might give it a little bit of something extra. We're going to run a competition at the stalking show. Come along, fill in the form, drop it in the box, and we'll probably draw it either on the Sunday night or I might draw it later on in the week. We'll do like a live video draw. But there's going to be some good prizes, two or three prizes at least, potentially something that you're either going to be able to take away with you or maybe a day out on the hill or something like that. I haven't quite decided exactly what we're doing, but watch this space and I'm sure we'll announce it soon enough on probably our Instagram feed and Facebook page. In other news, if you haven't had a chance yet, then head on over to the Hunter Gatherer Cooking YouTube channel, and there's a couple of videos he's produced. He was up here again. We went out for some roe, and then he chased me around the hill with a camera, trying to keep up with me while we went out to get some hinds in the snow. Absolutely fantastic watch. Thoroughly suggest you go and look at them. And obviously, if you've not seen the others, scroll back and have a look at his first red stag up on the hill with me. And the grouse days and some of the other lead up to it. But if that's something that's interests you, do that. We've also got a YouTube channel, so if you are listening to us via the YouTube page, please give us a like and subscribe and share it to all your friends as well. Hello and welcome to the Outdoor Gibbon. Today we are here with Beatrice. She is a Swedish huntress and is going to basically tell us a bit about the different hunting in different parts of the world. How you doing?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. And how are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. Let's talk about how you kind of got into hunting and it's a bit different to the rest of to the UK anyway.
Yeah, sure. So let me just start with how I got into hunting because, I found it a lot later in life. A lot of people are born into it, but I wasn't. Instead, in a way, my husband introduced me.
Okay.
Not in the normal way suggesting I should get a hunting license, but instead he started by convincing me we needed a hunting dog. That was our way into it, and that's in the end I started. So we had a dog, a hunting dog, in 2017,
Okay.
And I just started taking part in this practice immediately. And just 1 year later, I had my hunting exams and already had my first gun. So,
oh wow! So fairly quick follow on from getting a dog to suddenly you've got everything, all the tickets and ready to go.
Yeah, it was a fast process. After getting the dog, getting the dog was not a fast process, but after that.
So do you have to have a specific license then to have a dog?
No, but it's quite a big. It's hard to get access to hunting dogs. You have to, in a way, show that you're gonna hunt with them, and to be reasonable owners. So we had multiple interviews. It was like almost like a job interview.
Okay, I see. So so basically they don't want that dog just becoming a pet. They actually want that dog to work.
Yeah. So I worked with a lot of amazing breeders, and they really make sure that their dogs and their offcomings get the life that they're bred for.
Absolutely. So what breed of dog did you go for?
We have the small Münsterländer.
Okay.
So and we actually have 2 now, but we started with 1. So that is 7 years from now.
Wow.
So I always know, how long did I hunt? It's the same age as my oldest dog.
Yeah,
no, the same number of years. Yeah.
And that dog's primary function, obviously, out when you're out hunting, is it a bird dog? Is it a tracking dog? What are you mainly using it for?
Well, he's a generalist dog. So he is mainly a pointing dog. That's what they're bred for. But the small Münsterländer really is, it's a pointing dog with a lot of extras.
Oh, fantastic! Oh, brilliant! And people can obviously. I'll put a link to it, but they can actually go and see your dog. It's on your Instagram feed and things like that.
It's a lot of dog-related material on my Instagram.
Fantastic.
I realized that.
No. Well, that's what it's all about. It's about sharing the experience, and we'll come on to talk about social media and Instagram a bit later on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about obviously something that's quite different for our UK listeners is you have to go down the route of achieving a hunting permit and basically proving that you're able to hunt. Can you kind of explain that for everybody?
Sure. And this is, explaining this is new to me as well. I've done it, but I always thought this was, the process in the entire world. But we have a hunting permit that it's, it requires a lot to get.
Yes. Yeah.
And then also the gun permit, and those are separate.
Okay.
So it's not the same thing. But let's start with the hunting permit in Sweden. First, you have this theoretical exam. So I, like most people, I started off there, just reading a lot about not just hunting. It's about the law around hunting and dogs and all the different game and really a large part of the conservation part of it.
Okay.
So that's required to even get a license. So I did that, and then you have to do a theoretical exam. But also we have a lot of practical exams. Of course, shooting is a big part of it, both with a shotgun and a rifle. So we do a lot of different, targets that we have to get passed on. So shotgun, it's the clays, and also like a simulated running rabbit.
Okay. Yeah.
So we do that, and then they also have this kind of gun handling safety type of test. And that is, you don't have to shoot, but you have to walk like through a course where you need to try and tell the distance to different game, and also make a decision. Would you take the shot or not? Is it too far, or is it
safe backstop and
exactly all of those things? Yeah,
Okay.
and also, crossing different, like a ditch with the gun, then they want you to, open it and cross the ditch in a safe way. So it's really a practical
And
kind
so
of test.
once you've done all of the theoretical part and passed that and the practical work, then you are that gets you your hunting permit. Did you say?
Exactly. Yes, that's a hunting. Like it's like a license that you're allowed to hunt, or
Now,
you have
does that last forever, or do you have to do more exams in a few years' time, or?
No, it lasts forever, but most hunting teams make you do a shooting test each year.
Okay, wow.
So it's not, it's not mandatory, but most of the teams, I do it each year because, it's gonna stop me at some point hunting if I don't have it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and that shooting test, because I believe you do the driven, obviously with the driven shoots, you have moose targets that move and things like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the famous moose test.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So we have a moose on 80 meters that moves fairly quickly,
videos.
So we need, exactly. We need to be sure on the lead. That's that type of things. Yeah.
I suppose the UK, we're very much everything stands still before you shoot it. So all our targets are stationary and static.
Yes, in rifle shooting, but you do a lot of shotgun shooting. So
we do. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not stationary.
Yeah, but you see, there's no requirement for a permit to have a shot for shotgun shooting for going out to shoot game. Anybody, you can give them a shotgun and take them out to shoot at pheasants and partridge. No permits required.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you are allowed in Sweden to guide someone that doesn't have the hunting license, but that is very strictly regulated, and they basically, it's like test driving on your license, so people don't take it lightly.
Right. I see. That's kind of good, because I think that's the thing. We do a lot of that test that you spoke about, but it's not compulsory. It's up to you whether you want to, in the UK, go on and get further education. But obviously, for yourself in Sweden, that's kind of compulsory before you can actually do the hobby you want to do.
Definitely, yeah.
And then obviously you spoke about the firearms permit. That's going to be similar to ours, basically licensing the rifle you can have, etc., etc.
Exactly. You leave. That's up to the police to deem if you're fit to hold a gun. Yeah.
Okay, that's that. So that kind of answers my questions there for explaining to people about the hunting permit. So let's move on, obviously, because you shoot both shotgun and rifle. What's your favorite type of hunting?
This is a hard question for me, and I've had this question a lot, and I think I've answered it, differently each time.
It can change through the season, though.
It can. It really can. In the end, it's always going to be hunting with dogs, like a broad concept. But then, back in 2017, I just completely fell for hunting over pointing dogs.
Yeah.
That is, to me, absolutely magic. And that pointing gene, it just never stops to amaze me.
It is fantastic to watch a dog.
How did we breed that?
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's when you say having a pointer and watching it just go completely still and watch, and literally when you tell it steps in and whatever's there flies. It's fantastic. Yeah, we had a few pointers this year out on the grouse. And again, it's that moment of watching them work, and then suddenly the grouse pop and fly, and you really can't beat it.
No, in my opinion, you can't. And it's from such an early age they start to point. It's not something that I learn or teach them. Just the pointing part, with a lot of other things that I have to learn or teach them. But just that pointing, I can't believe how did we breed that. I just can't wrap my head around it.
You do. It does make you think that obviously in the packs or whatever they were working as, there must have been this dog that would go in and do that, and maybe there was other parts of the pack that would be the fast dog that would chase out and try and catch the game.
Yeah. Because I mean, already from the puppy stage, they do that pointing thing, obviously with the rattling leaf or something.
Yeah. So and that's it, focused on it. So
that was also the first type of hunting that I started with.
Okay.
So it has a special place in my heart.
So it's definitely sort of pointing dogs over with game, basically. That's your favorite sort of hunting.
Yeah, that's synergy, with the dog.
Yeah. And that's working mostly for you. That's going to be with a shotgun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so this now kind of leads us really nicely on to the next sort of area I was looking at, because obviously you have an Instagram page with fantastic photos, but you also talk about the psychology of hunting in there.
I do.
So let's sort of say, let's have a look at, I think you wrote an article, or there was an article that I noticed, hence the reason we're having this chat. It was something about posting stuff on social media and in the importance of what you do and how you post stuff. So do you want to sort of talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. I did this article and it was an interview with one of the Swedish hunting newspapers, and I talk about the importance of posting content that matters to you, and that I have a hard time putting it right, but I don't want to restrict people in how they express themselves on social media. But when I started the Instagram page, I quickly started following a lot of accounts, and my feed instantly filled up with a lot of pictures of just dead animals in awkward positions. No backstory, nothing, just, today I shot another animal and here's the awkward position. And it can be, something that people are interested in if you're an avid hunter. But if you try to put on, other glasses, more neutral, not hunting glasses, that's going to sting a bit,
Yes,
so
I agree.
what I try to argue is that we, show the animal some respect by like telling the story about, behind the hunting, or do a nice picture, try and capture something else than just, where the animal dropped and how it dropped,
Yes, no, I agree. Yeah.
So that was, a part at least of what I argued. Yeah.
I think social media, I think as hunters, we have a huge responsibility in how we portray the animal we've taken. And I think back to when I first started, and pictures were exactly that, where the animal dropped, you took a picture, oh, look what I've shot.
Yeah.
But as you probably get older, and I've noticed this, we spend more time setting that picture up. So, for example, one of the stags that maybe one of my clients has taken this year, it's set up with a magnificent backdrop, nothing else in it. So it still gives the animal that absolute grandeur of what it is.
That's actually a bit like a process, just, to do that setting.
Yeah. And it doesn't take long, but it just means you've given the game a huge amount of respect, and you actually get a fantastic photo out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And also, there's a lot of pictures of just dead animals, but there's also some pictures, where people tend to sit on the animal, or do really weird things. I mean, you just shot an animal or taken a life. You didn't conquer Rome.
No, absolutely.
Don't make it weird.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of important. It's to make sure that, especially as I think as hunters, we are being so scrutinized by all of the media platforms. We have to be so careful.
Ever, I think.
Yeah, I think that was something else you mentioned. It's we're seeing more and more, just because you might post something with a hashtag that says gun or stalker or something like that, all of a sudden you have a media block and nobody can see what you're doing.
I've had this, restricted reach for pretty much the whole autumn.
Right.
It's like constant, if I have one picture reported and then maybe I take it down, then the second I take it down, 2 other pictures get stuck. I've had this. I just can't seem to get rid of it.
Do you think it's something to do with possibly that? Okay, how would I word this? Obviously, you're a female hunter. Do you think you get more issues with hatred being a female hunter than, for example, myself being a male hunter on social media?
Well, it could be. I mean, I'm not sure why I get stuck so much.
Right.
It's either, the AI just realizing that my pictures usually contain a gun and then they scan me. But I have a feeling someone is reporting me, and it could be, I mean, different roles, female or male roles, and a female huntress could perhaps elicit other feelings.
That's one of the things I've always asked, because we do see that the ladies seem to get more abuse on social media than probably the men, and I think it's completely wrong. But unfortunately, it seems like you guys get targeted more than we do.
I feel very targeted right now, but I actually meet a lot of weird assumptions, not only from people, against hunting, but also some actual hunters. And I repeatedly get asked, because I do a lot of dog handling and a lot of beating.
Yep.
And I repeatedly get asked if I hunt.
Okay.
And to me, that is just, such a mind-boggling question. I don't have a good answer to it. I don't have, a good comeback, but, standing there in full hunting clothing and with a rifle on my back and get the question, but do you hunt? I see you do a lot of dog handling, but do you hunt? It's like,
wow. Okay. Yeah.
Well, in my mind, I do, but that's kind of the thing. I think we need to broaden, the concept of hunting.
Yeah, I think it's still kind of stuck. There is a certain age group where it's still very much this was the way it was and has been, and it hasn't really moved forward. I think the new generation, the younger people that are coming into it, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, everybody's accepted into the hunting world now.
Yeah.
But I think there's an older generation that are still stuck in the past almost.
That's what we're doing, waiting for the generation shift to take place.
But do you find there's problems obviously in Sweden now with more anti-hunting people, more people showing a sort of a negative side to the hunting?
We actually have a really big group in Sweden that most people are for hunting.
Okay.
But we have a small group that are against it, and they are, they make a lot of noise. They're really loud. So they're not big in numbers, but they make a lot of noise. They get a lot of media attention because they make a lot of noise. They're great news value in that kind of. And you also have this really small group, but they're, in a militant kind of way, they try to target hunters and they try to report them to the police. They try to sabotage hunting meetings and hunts. And
okay.
So we have them in Sweden, but they're really few in numbers.
So we have the biggest problem we have is we have the hunt issues with the fox hunting. So they would come out and do the sabotage. But actually 90% of our pheasant days and things like that go without a hitch, and we don't have major problems there. But if as soon as you mention the word fox and hunting,
but fox hunting, is that all foxes, or is it the specific kind of hunting where where you hunt them with dogs and
that would have
horses.
been the old-fashioned dogs and horses. That's
yeah.
Which doesn't happen anymore. It does, but
No.
they only chase a scent, so like a rag or something like that smells of fox, and a guy drives around on a quad bike.
Yeah.
But they still come out and try and sabotage those days of people just having a good ride in the countryside.
Okay.
It's very, very strange, but it's entertainment for everybody, and it's just sad. But I suppose society has changed dramatically with people that live in the cities not understanding how the countryside works.
Truly, yeah. And I actually had this weird experience a couple of days ago, because not recently, but the last couple of years, I've only had, I've based all my meat consumption on venison.
Okay.
And before that, I ate cow and pig. But for a couple of days ago, I tried to have, how do you call it? Cow meat.
Right.
Meat from a cow.
Yeah.
And I could really taste, the cow. It didn't taste, like neutral meat anymore. It tasted cow, and venison to me has shifted and became, the neutral taste. Fallow or red deer or roe.
Oh, fantastic! You sound like you live a very similar lifestyle to us. That's all pretty much. My children just have venison, whether it's a burger, whether it's a sausage. It's always venison, really, for them.
Yeah. So and I'm so lucky to be able to, and I can't argue for everyone to do this, because not everyone has the access to it. But in the cities, we live, and I've lived, I'm from Stockholm originally. You really don't have a relationship to food anymore.
No,
it's just a package. It's something to get from maybe the store, probably driven home to you with the Foodora, the home delivery system.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's I think I've just talked about this many times, but there is a big disconnect that children no longer actually know where meat comes from. They see a cow or a pig or a chicken on the farm in a picture book, or on the TV or Instagram or something like that, but they don't understand that when it's a package in the supermarket, they can't relate the two together. They just have no idea.
No. And of course that's the case. They've never seen the process.
No.
And it's a really it's a complicated process. So how just reading about it, it's gonna take a long time before they actually grasp that connection.
No, absolutely. And the thing about it is, I think we almost put like a cover over the eyes, so we don't want these images, our children, to see a cow go through a slaughterhouse or something like that, because it isn't a pretty sight when it goes in. But processing a deer is actually, it can be a very clean, very educational process that isn't gruesome at all.
No, exactly. It's all in the context and how you put it, right?
I think as hunters we're definitely in a minority, but we do need to work carefully, and again, it goes back to what you post on the internet, and be very careful how you post it, and post almost educational every time. I try to do that, and I think I see a lot of people doing that, so there's definitely
there is
trend.
A lot of good content as well.
Yes, there's definitely a few people that you would go, well, I wouldn't have posted that, but to be honest, most of the people that are doing their best and have quite a large following are actually doing a fantastic job of actually posting educational posts.
Exactly,
so that's good. Now, you managed to get yourself over onto, I think, was it Aimpoint, their training school or education program?
The shooting academy.
How did that come about?
I applied first of all, so they did this, in the spring, where you had the possibility to apply, and Aimpoint for me is that's the first sight I ever bought.
Okay.
And before hunting, I was part in the army for a bit, and we also use, in the Swedish army. I'm not sure about the British one, but in the Swedish army we use aim points. So to me, that is, square one.
It's a really. A product you know of. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so first thing I did when I bought a rifle was also to pair it with an aim point.
Okay.
So and I really enjoy driven hunting, obviously, with the dogs, and hunting with dogs, and dog handling. To me, there's a safety aspect of being able to take shots. Most of the time it's, the short distances.
Yeah.
But with an aim point, I can have both eyes open. I get to see, the whole spectre of what's happening, and I can see, the animal if I have to take a shot, and where the dog is and what they're doing. So to me, hunting with an aim point, I do it 90% of the time.
Okay.
But then they made, they advertised this shooting academy, where we had the opportunity to just meet up and do a lot of shooting training, really.
Oh, cool. Because you had people from
amazing.
all over the world there by the look of it.
Yeah. And some British people as well. So.
Yeah, no, I've been talking to, I think is George who went over and things like that. So we've had a good natter about stuff, but it did seem like quite an exciting time.
Definitely. And to me, one of the first, really international hunting events that I went to, it was in Sweden, but, with a lot of international guests. And, naturally, we all discussed, trying to find differences and similarities with hunting. And, it is a lot more similarities, worldwide than it is differences.
Oh, absolutely.
Really.
Yeah, no, I think the only
practice.
Guys that would have had a difference are the guys from the UK that basically we don't do driven game, really.
No, yeah.
I think that would probably be the only bit that would have been majorly different, because I think the rest of Europe and the rest of the world, driven game is still kind of one of those things that happens.
It is, yeah. It's a big thing.
So, because they obviously, I think Tika was there advertising rifle or giving demonstrations on their rifles.
Yeah, we did the Tika rifle and the Beretta shotguns.
Okay, Beretta shotguns.
Yeah.
So that leads me nicely to the next question: is what sort of rifle do you have? Do you have a Tika or do you have something different?
I had a Tika. I started out with a Tika TTX Lite, I think it's called.
Right.
And I absolutely loved it. I really did. But the thing is, I walk a lot in the forest.
Right.
And for some reason, I want to carry it on my, let's see now, left shoulder.
Okay.
Most people, I think, carry it on the right, but when I carry it on the left shoulder, it lies in a way on my back that it undoes the it opens
the bolt.
Exactly. Thank you. And that's not a good thing, because I have bullets in it when I'm moving.
Absolutely.
And it never posed a real threat, but just having that feeling of I'm not sure if my gun is open or closed. I don't know if I have a branch sticking through it.
Okay.
Because I walk through a lot of shrubbery. So I recently switched to a Blaser R93 instead. They have this manual cocking system, and it's a lot more height in a way.
We've had a lot of guests this year come out to the hill for stags, and Blaser seemed to be a lot of people's choice firearms. It's that funny pushing the what they call a safety or the cocking system. I find just so strange, but that's probably because I'm still a Tika shooter, and that's just the way it is.
And I really think just in a hunting situation, I'm a lot faster with a Tika, undoing the safety button.
Yes.
But then I'm a lot faster doing the repetition with the Blaser.
Because of the straight pull of the Blaser.
Yeah, it's a straight pull. Yeah,
absolutely.
So pluses and minuses. It's a really hard push, or the button is really.
Well, it is kind of cocking the mechanism, isn't it? It's cocking as you push up. We discussed this. It isn't really a safety. It's actually when so I'll explain to our listeners. Obviously, the Blaser rifle has this big button on the back that looks like a safety catch, but as you push it up, you're actually physically cocking the firing pin. Yeah. And then once that's engaged, that's it. You're good to shoot, and you can keep shooting because it's cocked all the time at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So, and what caliber are you shooting?
308.
Ah, good. Yeah,
I stayed with it. Yeah.
Good caliber.
Yeah.
Very much a 308
I'm used to
now.
it, and I just feel like, I don't know a lot about calibers. So I found one that I'm, comfortable with. I'm going to stick with it.
It does exactly. And actually, probably for you, driven game and all the rest of it, the 308 is probably absolutely perfect. You don't have to worry about the big loopy trajectory that the bullet does. It just does exactly what you want it to do. Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, I shoot most game with it. I shoot foxes and moose.
Fantastic. Does the job.
So it does the job. Yeah.
So obviously hunting season, I think, is drawn to a close in Sweden now, or are you still?
It is.
You're finished.
Well, we always have something to hunt. It's never really closed. We have boar and so we always have and some stalking still, fallow and hare hunting. But the driven season with most loose dogs is closed. Right. With my dogs, it's closed. So to me, this is kind of a low season period. Right now, yeah.
So do you have access to going to places to shoot boar and fallow and stuff like that?
I do. So I've done some stalking now in last couple of weeks, but to me that's kind of like a way to calm down, because the driven season, when we travel a lot, we travel with dogs, and there's these huge gatherings and a lot of people in the forests. It's so exciting, but it's also kind of stressful. Yes, it can be. And then to just be you out in the forest looking for game, stalking, that is just it's so much more peaceful in a way. So I'm really enjoying that part of hunting.
It's been many conversations I've had with many fellow hunters. It's that moment that you can go out into the forest and actually switch off. You can always put your phone away and everything just slows down.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really good. And do you live in the city, or do you live on the outskirts of the city, or how easy is it for you to get to your hunting grounds?
Well, it's fairly easy. I live on the outskirts, so in a house, but fairly close to one of the biggest cities. But it doesn't take more than. We actually have fallow, just outside the house, but but it's not my hunting ground. So, but I can at least watch them. The dogs really love them. But it's maybe an hour max tops to drive.
Oh, that's not too bad. And do you share that hunting ground with people, or is that private land that you can go onto?
No, it's not private land. I share them, the land with a hunting team.
Okay, right. And because that's something again that would be different for guys in the UK that are listening, because some people, we have our own, like I have a lot of land that only I can shoot on, so I go there and I've got my row to shoot at, but other people will be like similar to you as a hunting team, like part of what we call a syndicate here, so they'd have to organize going out and saying they'd like to go shooting this weekend or something like that, and make sure nobody else is on the land.
Yeah, exactly. So I do that. I don't own any land in that way. Some people do in Sweden, and have access and also hunt. But most people who own land, they rent it to a syndicate.
Okay, right.
And sometimes they're maybe a part of the syndicate, but a lot of land, and definitely in the south of Sweden, you need a lot of hunters to take care of the land. You're not going to be able to do it on your own. You need more people, more hunters. And you need really the driven hunts. You're not going to be able to stalk and conserve, the population in a good way.
So your game population actually in Sweden is very healthy. It's very high, I take it.
It's very differing, in different areas. So some areas we have, overpopulated areas. Right. And in other places it's underpopulated. So it's very, very different. We recently introduced more wolves in Sweden, and the populations where the wolves have made packs is shifting really fast, and we don't really know what's going to happen. We can only see it in real time, but it's hard to predict how it's going to
so the introduction of wolf, is that an incentive to try to reduce the population of game, or was that some other government idea?
That's the government idea, that the wolf is a part of Swedish fauna and it's needed, not needed, more, it has a right to be here kind of way. And we need, if it's going to be here, we need them, the pack to be in a healthy, if they breed, we need it to be not so inbred. So we need a minimum amount of wolves so they don't go sick,
Right.
So that's kind of the reason why they try to increase the number.
So are wolves at the moment protected from being hunted, or are they on the game list?
Both. Both yes and yes. They are protected, but we hunt them to some extent. But it's really, complicated. It's a whole process of applying, and the governments are very involved in it.
I understand, because there's some parts of the world where wolves have just been reintroduced, and the penalty for if you went out because it was in your back garden and you shot it, the chap said, I'd get longer in prison for this than murder in some ways.
It's very, hard punishments in doing that, hunting crimes.
It's currently a hot topic because there's thought to have wolves introduced back into Scotland. Purely they believe to try and control the red deer number, but we don't think that would work. They'll probably eat more sheep than actual anything else. Domesticate. I think wolves have a nasty habit as well. They like domestic dogs. That seems to be
they do, and that's when you ask hunters in Sweden, I'm not. Well, the media portray us as either heavily against or heavily for the wolf. And I'm neither, I'm not against the wolf. Of course, it has a right to be here, but introducing, a large number of wolves where there's also a large number of cattle, there's a large number of people living, there's a large number of, hunting grounds that is where you need to hunt with dogs. That's the only way to regulate the stock. That's the only way we get enough numbers. Wolves have this nasty habit of they don't feel threatened by the dog and try to protect themselves from the dog. They feel threatened by the dogs when they hunt because they're a threat to the food sources. So they really target dogs. They try to find dogs and target them and kill them. So we have a lot right now, dogs getting killed by wolves. These are family members to people.
I heard that the wolves have become quite clever. I'm sure I was discussing this. They are. And they work out the dog. They'll hear the dog, because obviously sometimes the dog will run in and will bark. And the wolf now realizes that when the dog is barking or baying at, example, a moose or something like that, it knows to go straight for that dog, and that's it. It's got a meal at the end of the day.
Yeah. So and as an effect of that, I don't release my dogs close to places where I know there's wolves.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't.
Right.
So those places don't get hunted,
Yeah.
So, it's not just, you don't just introduce the wolves, you're also going to retract, the people hunting in a way. So there's, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen, with the game in these areas.
It sounds quite difficult, especially because obviously there's people are very cautious about how they want to hunt in those areas now.
Well, I wouldn't release my dogs. I don't see, and we get these. We have these vests mainly for hunting boar, but you can also apply these wolf kind of nails that should protect them in a way from wolves. But I'm not going to take the risk. But the thing is, because wolves don't really hunt boar in the same way. So the boar population is going to rise in some levels because people stop hunting with dogs there. The wolves take out all the deer, and the boar, all of a sudden they don't really have a predator anymore.
No, absolutely. It's crazy, but again, it's somebody sat in an office, unfortunately, goes, oh, that'd be nice. We'll put wolves back in or something like that.
Yeah.
So, fair enough. So that's kind of interesting. So because obviously Sweden as well have I've got a friend over there who was telling me, because she's got a tracking dog, and she's part of one of the teams that if an animal gets hit at the side of the road can be called in to go and search. Again, something that the UK doesn't do. But are you involved in that, or do you get any calls to go and track wounded animals?
I do to some point, not traffic wounded animals, but just hunting with dogs, and also the tracking part. It's a really it's a big thing in Sweden. We have a really strong tradition of working with dogs. And I did this podcast with it aired in the US, and they were really surprised as well when I told them that if you hit an animal, you're obligated to call the emergency number.
No, absolutely.
You call the
999.
Is it 999 in Scotland as well? Yeah. So you have to call, and they're always gonna send out someone to try and track and put down the animal if it's needed. Each time someone hits a deer or boar.
In the UK, normally, well, up here, I've been to that many sort of deer at the side of the road and things like that. But nobody has to report them. You'll get somebody say, "Oh, I've hit a deer. Did you stop? Did you check it? Oh no, I just carried on," and that's it. And we kind of find them in fields and things like that. But I think Sweden, it's compulsory that you have to report it, and your insurance company won't do things as well, because if you haven't reported them, they won't cover you and things like that.
So if you leave your car, if it's dented and they found blood or hairs or anything on it, the insurance company is not going to help you, and you're going to get reported to the police. So you need to call. And it's not, they're not going to judge you for hitting the animal. We have a lot of animals, and it's we live in a dark country. It's going to happen.
No, absolutely.
But just make the call and make sure someone, the police is going to make sure someone comes out and tracks it. I do some tracking in hunting, but not in the traffic wounded animals.
The traffic wounded ones are always an interesting one, because I remember having a chat, and they'd gone a long way, and obviously you have to get the permissions of all the land you cover and everything like that. But
that is complicated.
Oh, absolutely. And you could be tracking something for hours. I think 10K was the furthest they'd gone. It's crazy, really.
And they're truly the heroes of the hunting quarry in Sweden.
But at least it's a follow-up. That's the most important part. And no animal, well, you hope that no animal is left to suffer or have an issue and die pretty much an awful end at the end of the day.
A slow death. And most, I know some trackers as well. Most of them try to, send a message or something that I found it and now, it's put out of its misery or it's healthy. I've.
Yeah, and that's what you kind of want to know at the end of the day, isn't it? And we're all hunters, but we're not all cold-blooded killers, are we?
No, exactly. No.
So conservation is important. So obviously, with the hunting season over, you've still got a few other things to do. What are you planning next year already? Working out what's going to happen, where you're going, etc.
I am. I've already starting to get some of the dates for hunts in the autumn.
Okay.
Some dates are, my own. It's the grouse premiere. That's a given date for me. But then also, some of the states send out, the dates really early to make sure we can come and hunt with the dogs.
Oh, cool.
So that's already on the planning. But this spring I have a lot of courses with the dogs that I'm looking forward to. Some tracking courses. So that's this is the part of year where I have to have them on lead.
Okay.
So I really need from 6 months they've been running loose in the forest doing whatever they want, and now I'm gonna have to try and activate them with a lead. So tracking is the one activity I found that tires them fastest.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So another question for you then, I'm sure, is there any particular species of animal that you would like to hunt, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in Sweden?
That's an excellent question. I think I've had this question before, and perhaps I've answered it differently. So I'm going to give you the latest answer. I would actually really like to hunt seal.
Seal. Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't have access to this kind of hunting. We have it in Sweden. It's not that uncommon, but I'm brought up in the Stockholm archipelago. So kind of environment where the seals are is my home type of environment. But I've never hunted, in the archipelago. I've always hunted in the forest, and it's not really my, home habitat.
Because it's meant to be quite an interesting hunt, a seal, isn't it? Because they obviously they pop their heads up above the water. You get a very short window to take a shot, and you have to recover it fairly quickly, I think, because it sinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So either you recover it really quickly or you dive after it. That's the thing.
Okay.
So it's a complicated hunt. It's not something I would, do on my own. I need, the guidance for it.
Yeah.
And also, either you shoot it in the sea, but it's going to bob up and down because the sea is not going to be still.
No, absolutely.
Or you shoot them lying on the cliffs. But then you have to get a clear shot because normally they lump together and it's really either you have water or a really stony area. So it's it's a lot to take into consideration. So it's a complicated hunt, but I think just the environment would be amazing to hunt in.
And that's still because obviously I'm assuming that's a management thing because the seal numbers are increasing over there as well.
They are, yeah.
See, we have an increasing number of seals up here now that are devastating our fish stocks. However, they're now protected and you can't shoot them.
Right. It's always this.
It's because I think you're allowed to shoot badgers as well in Sweden.
Yeah.
Of course. So badgers
like
are protected
the pest control,
in the UK.
just like foxes. Why?
Yeah, no.
I saw that on this series. What's it called? Clarkson's Farm, where they had really big problems with diseases spreading and all, and the badgers were protected. I didn't quite get the logic there.
So badgers were persecuted for a long time and really heavily controlled. And then people said, well, if we don't do something about this, we'll have no badgers left. So badgers got moved onto a protection list that basically said you weren't allowed to shoot badgers or do anything to badgers. Of which point the badgers then managed to breed, re-establish themselves, and their numbers have gone crazy. However, they're still on the protected list. And so in the south of England, they've had a badger cull, so they have actually been out and they've, under license and regulation, have shot badgers. But in places like Scotland, there's no badger cull because they believe that the badgers don't carry the disease of TB, and they're still protected. So we're losing hedgehogs. We've noticed the number of foxes in certain areas go down because the badgers move into the foxholes. It's crazy.
That is really crazy. Yeah. We hunt badgers in Sweden.
Yeah, no. And same with seals. Again, exactly that. Seals are on a protected list. Nobody wants. Disney haven't helped us. The Disneyfication of all these animals, it makes seals cute and fluffy kind of thing, when actually they're pretty vicious and horrible.
They are. The Disney version of seals, with the big eyes, and they do look like that. Try and pop up the mouth, and you're gonna see the teeth.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've had a lot of.
We have a big problem with the fish is being heavily fished with these big ships out in the coast. So a lot of fish run inwards, to the shore, and so the seals come with them. So that's in one part, the seals, the numbers have increased, but they've also migrated with the fish in a way, because we fish too much out, so they just move inwards.
Well, it's a nice life. It's the same. Lying on the rocks, food comes to you.
So they're going to follow their food. I mean, why wouldn't they?
Exactly, and that's our big problem. We've had a lot of dog attacks because of the seals up here, like people letting their dogs into the estuary, and the seals attack the dogs. But yet nobody
really?
actually. Yeah,
I've never
really.
Heard of that.
We have a lot of the guys that go out wildfowling and shooting on the shoreline for the ducks and things like that. They're now very wary because they'll send their dog in to retrieve, and I think one shooter had a lab that went in to retrieve something, and the seal decided it wanted that, so it attacked the dog and killed the dog.
Oh no.
Yeah. So again, like your wolf stories, we've got the seals on the coast, but again, somebody said that they need to be protected, and that's that. They are off limits. You can't do anything about them.
Yeah. Someone felt that they had to be protected, and now they are. Yeah.
And somebody else will then moan that there are no fish going up. So the salmon that used to run up the rivers, obviously Scotland's well known for its salmon runs and fishing salmon. Well, the salmon numbers have depleted because the seals are like a massive net with teeth at the end of the river that are just eating them up.
Yeah.
So we could carry on all night discussing things like this, but it's one of those. I think this is the problem. We have a lot of, I think, world over, politicians sit in big offices and make very quick decisions as to how the countryside should run. And unfortunately, it does have a detrimental effect on everything. Then they don't realize that.
It's kind of the same thing, people living in cities and people controlling, they are so disconnected. So they don't see this, fast changes. Yes. In wildlife stocks or the conservation of things. They just lose grip.
And any publication that a hunting group would put out would be deemed as it's biased, where that's the problem we have. So we are stuck in a very small minority of people that actually want to try and conserve the countryside, but we are going to struggle massively because the city folk don't see that.
No. And I mean, it's in everyone's interest, also the hunter's interest, to conserve the wildlife. I mean, not conserve it so that we can shoot it, shoot all the stock. Conserve it so we can shoot some, but still keep it so we can keep, shooting.
Absolutely. So future generations can carry on doing all this wonderful stuff. I
such a big part in hunting, conserving, but people don't get that.
No, absolutely. Well, I think that draws us quite nicely to sort of a good conclusion, because otherwise we might rant on about seals and badgers for a bit too long. Is there any questions you've got for me while we're on?
Well, actually, I do. You have dogs as well.
I do, yes.
Have you introduced them in this Pod?
Yeah. My three. I've got 3 Springer Spaniels, and they are well, the mum, who was my sort of first well-trained dog, kind of well-trained. She's mainly a bird dog, so she will come out and flush pheasants and things like that. But she's also now will pick up ground game like rabbits and bring those back. My second, which is one of her daughters, has a complete phobia of she'll flush birds, but she won't retrieve anything. So she'll go in, put birds up, but doesn't like carrying things in her mouth. No. And the third one is still a young pup. She's just coming up to 2, but has an absolutely fantastic nose. So I'm trying to decide whether I take her down the line of a bird dog, or actually whether I really get her going and get her more working as a tracking dog for me.
Oh yeah.
So to be able to find stuff, because spaniels are just.
There.
I then have a whole team, exactly.
Yeah, but 3 spaniels. I do follow a lot of spaniels on social media, and just that. They radiate this type of energy that no other breed do. Spaniel energy. I just love seeing that. It's infectious.
100% or nothing with mine. So as you probably see by most of my photos, they're like lying across my lap or sitting on the chair. Yeah. But you take them outside, and they'll work until they drop.
Yeah.
So yes, my dogs they're part of the family, but they also they probably don't work as much as they should do. I think that's because I spent most of this year on the hills chasing red deer around. But normally they're out with me all the time doing stuff.
Yeah.
So there we go. Well, I think most people have dogs, and if you are in the shooting world, the dog will do something for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But anyway, we'll draw it to a close there. But thank you ever so much for coming on. And if anybody's got any questions, ping them over to me. Go follow, and I'll put some links in the bio, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
Superb.
Thank you.
I hope you found that enjoyable. It's quite interesting to see how other parts of the world manage their game and their training methods as well, especially. In other news, I've just come back from the embroiderers, getting our new logo put onto some clothing. We will be putting out some images of that at some point, so there is a possibility to own a piece of merchandise with the outdoor gibbon. I would be really grateful if you are interested in that. Obviously, everything that goes into that helps support this. We're not sponsored by anybody. So at the moment, this production is all being self-funded. Anyway, thanks for listening again, and we'll catch you on the next one.